channel, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're talking to Lerato and we're talking about being a new mom. Lerato! Interesting. Yeah. Welcome to Hot Seats with Benzola. Thank you so much for allowing me to talk to you about this personal journey of being a new mom.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So first of all, talk to me about the emotional journey, right?
Okay. So it's an adjustment.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where you think you're prepared for it, but then it happens and you're just like, oh my gosh, I was so not ready for this.
And what makes you think you're prepared? What are the sort of things in your head that makes you feel like you're prepared?
I think I had always had a plan. Like, I was like, okay, 30, I'll consider having a baby. By then I should be financially secure. Emotionally, mentally, I'll be okay because I'm now adult. I can take care of myself.
Yeah.
So you think of all these things like, okay, I'm ready,
Okay.
And then it happens. And then it's just, and you're like, you're caught off guard.
Okay.
Like, I think I was at a point where financially I was ready for the baby. Mentally, I was ready for the baby. Emotionally, I felt like I was ready for the baby. And then she arrived.
Yeah.
And then it was sleepless nights and your boobs are sore from breastfeeding. Then I had pain. So I had pains in my wrists from when I was pregnant that carried over into once I've given birth.
Yeah.
Then it's trying to time manage work with the baby, with also now we had COVID, we have the COVID situation. So it's all these little things that I've kind of been struggling to you have to match make and kind of put them all in their place
and make it work.
It's been a very, very hard
and
journey.
How old is your daughter now?
She's 6 months.
6 months. So it's been 6 months of a ride.
Of feeling like you're running with like no head on your shoulders.
I can imagine. I have 2 kids. So tell me about when there's a I don't know if I should call it a myth or there's a belief out there that women have the maternal instinct some way, and when you give birth to a child, you're automatically supposed to know what needs to happen. So talk to me about that. Did that switch come on?
That switch didn't come on. No, it didn't come on. I was calling my mom. I was calling my friends. I was just like, I don't know what to do. My husband was just like, don't worry, we got it. Relax, calm down. Changing diapers, I didn't know what to do. Making milk, I didn't know what to do. Breastfeeding from day one, I didn't know what to do. I had engorged boobs in the hospital. I didn't know what to do. So when people say that maternal instinct comes in, it's not necessarily true. I think at about 2 months, then I started getting into the rhythm of things.
Into the routine.
But from a maternal perspective, I don't think it happened for me. And I think a very big part of that was that even though you think you're going to have kids or that you want to have kids, you may not necessarily understand the process that actually goes into raising a little person. Because we see it. And I mean, we see so many women that are able to just kind of carry themselves and they're able to, keep going regardless of what's going on. But I really, really struggled in the beginning. I had a lot of help. So my mom is on my speed dial. Ma, something is happening. What do I do? It's that situation where you need to make sure that you've got a lot of support around you because it's a very drastic change.
Yeah. And then there's a whole, obviously, when you have your first child.
Yes.
I mean, I know I was told that was a rule that you have to go to your mom's house. You've just spoken about how she's on speed dial, and I suppose then your answer would be easy around, what is it necessary that you go to your mom's house when you have a child? Or is it just when you're your first mom, and then when you have your second child, does that rule still apply? Because there's, in our society, there's a whole rule that you must go and stay at your mother's house for like a month, and others say 3 months, and I've never understood that. So what's your position on that?
So I went to my mom's. I'm not going to lie, I was not happy about going to my mom's. I was not the happiest person about it. My mom is a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, she's a very impactful person. She wants certain things done a specific way.
Sure. Like most mothers,
yes, right? And being a first-time mom, you're trying to, one, find yourself, to find your groove with your child.
Right.
And now you've added on top of this having to find yourself and figuring it out thing, now you've added a third element into it. And what usually happens, I mean, I'm seeing this also with my cousin, there's so many voices in your head that you necessarily finding yourself becomes a longer journey.
What are these voices doing? Are they trying to control how you need
so
to look after
how you raise your child, what you do, what you're not supposed to do, all of those things. And I mean, it's just something as simple as like when you think your child has got diarrhea, but you don't know what exactly you're looking for. And then you also don't know what solution you're supposed to do. Then you have like 50,000 recommendations. Do this, do this, do this. And you are not necessarily certain of like, do I go here or do I just take the child to the doctor?
Even the information itself in front of you is difficult for you to dissect and actually make a decision.
You become very overwhelmed in that space. Like you're not necessarily certain of like what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing to do. And so it's a lot of trial and error. And I think, honestly speaking, like from me, I went home. We did home for 3 weeks. I got a lot of help, but at the same time, I kind of felt quite guilty because then there's the added pressure on the dad's side where now the dad is traveling every single day after work. So he's traveling an extra hour to come and see the child.
So he's not with his baby.
He's not with his baby. And also, even in like our circumstance, we were married. We were very newly married. And you're now trying to handle a new marriage with a baby, and it's a lot. And you kind of almost feel like you're losing time in finding that rhythm because of that situation.
So you mentioned 3 weeks. Was that your choice, the 3 weeks? Because I know the rules will say particular time. So what happened? Tell me about that transition of saying, well, it's 3 weeks now and I'm out of here, you know?
So we had the conversation with my mom beforehand. I did express to her that I don't necessarily want to be at a house for 3 months because I found that once I moved out, our relationship got a lot better. And so from that perspective, I didn't want to put it back under a lot of unnecessary strain. So when we had the conversation, she had already taken leave for about a month. So we had planned that, okay, a month at least, you know, we'll work around a month. But we stayed at my mom's Monday to Friday, and then on the weekends we would go home. So that we could kind of try and find that rhythm in that balance.
You're trying to spend time with both sides.
On both sides, yes.
Okay. And she was okay with that? She was okay with it?
She was okay with it. I think the first weekend, I think it kind of caught her off guard because now she's also getting attached. And so like
because
now...
she planned for this, like my job for the next month. Now she feels like you've taken it away. Okay.
So she that adjustment for her, I think that first weekend was like a little bit difficult. Second weekend it was fine. Third weekend we were okay. And then... I went back and we stayed at home for about another week, and then I went back to my mom's house for another couple of days because I just kind of felt like, okay, Mom, I'm not necessarily certain what's going on. My husband was also very supportive.
So I need you, but I also want to run this my way.
Yes, I need you, but I need to figure it out for myself as well. So you kind of are struggling to find that balance between you're a new mom and you're an adult now. Now you're officially taking care of an entire human being, and you still need the support of your own mother and your own support system because the experience that they have is unquantifiable.
Of course.
My mom has 3 kids, so she's got experience and she's done very well. So she's got experience. But I think it's also for me now the way that we were raised and the way that things were done back when we were raised is now completely different to the kind of environment that our kids are growing up in. So there's a lot of trying to find that medium of what works and what doesn't work.
So then from what you're saying, my assumption is that moving forward, we should actually do away with this rule of, you must come and stay here. It should be a case where you can stay at your house and your mother can actually come to your house and support you there.
Yes.
And because that also comes with, and there's another one that's also one of the rules, which is that the reason you stay there at your mom's for a month or 3 months is because the child is not supposed to
be exposed
to
multiple people,
spirits or multiple people and whatever. But I mean, what's your take on that thing? Because I have 2 kids, and when each of my children was 6 weeks, I went to a whole clinic to get them immunized. So that's a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of spirits there. So, So
I think it's quite interesting because this is a cultural thing. It's a Black cultural experience.
Correct.
Because what I've noticed with a lot of my white friends is that they don't go to their mother's houses. They take their child and they go home and they raise their child at home.
The mother goes there to help, or whatever help.
Or even they get a nanny. So it's quite interesting that it's a Black cultural experience. That the perception is that you do need to go home.
I wonder what purpose it serves.
You see, I also think I haven't had that conversation, and I think that is something that we need to kind of understand in order to kind of get a level of understanding of why we're doing certain things. Because I think our generation has been so drilled into this. It's like it's culture. It's done like this.
It's how we've been doing it for many years.
That we don't feel like we're comfortable enough to raise the questions of, okay, but why is this done?
Yeah.
You know, and why are we still carrying it over if times are not exactly like that?
Yeah.
And I think it's a very important thing to do. But I know with us, my daughter, I was sick after, I think I got really, really sick, third week of her being here, where I physically could not do anything. I couldn't pick her up. I couldn't breastfeed. I had such sore wrists that I physically could not take care of my child. And at that point now, it's also a case of, do I now go and expose myself to a doctor? Because now, if people are concerned about the spirits that you're encountering, that journey to the doctor, the people that you're going to meet there, and that kind of stuff also is included. So for me, it's kind of like, it's basically dependent on you and how you feel. I think you must be the one to make the decision of what is going to be best for you and your child.
Yeah. But I mean, you obviously have to recognize that when you do,
yes,
you have to be able to accept the consequences of that, because
yes, 100%.
whilst your mom might have, sort of understood, others might even, kind of disown you and say, well, if you want to do your own thing, then
do your own thing.
Do your own thing. But I almost feel like this is the only way we can create new norms, and I think that's really the purpose of the hot seat. It's to question these things, to say the 3 weeks rule, and and the fact that as women, you are expected to generally know, and you come with a switch, and which you say that switch didn't come on for you.
That switch, it doesn't necessarily come on the way that people say it. And I think it's a tricky thing, because you grow up and you're raised to think that, okay, when I get pregnant, everything will just magically happen.
Yeah, I'll be like a mom.
No.
Generally. Yeah.
No. It's not how it happens. There's no switch. There's no magic light bulb moment. There's none of that.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen like that at all. It's basically a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
And that is, for me, how I feel I've been able to find
a lot of trial and error on a precious cargo.
On a very precious cargo.
Yeah,
and I think that's also why you've got to be able to decipher which advice is good for you and which advice isn't. You've got to be able to practice that discernment.
Yeah, cool. Tell me about your husband.
Yes.
I suppose you're both going through the change, but what was your perception of his adaptation to this new person that's in your lives?
You know what's very interesting is I actually think he adjusted a lot better than I did. I feel
so
like
his switch came on.
His switch, but I think it's also because he's got a 6-year-old little girl. So I think he has a little bit of experience.
Okay.
But you know what? I think the expectation of, okay, baby, I'm pregnant, and are you ready? Like, what are we doing? I think that was one of the things that kind of made me realize, like, okay, it's gonna be fine. Because a lot of the time when you have that conversation of like, babe, so I took a pregnancy test and it came back positive, you're not necessarily certain what the other person is going to respond.
Yeah.
So I was lucky in the sense that he said to me, okay, so we're pregnant, so you need to go to the gynae. And I was like, huh? Because I was not expecting that kind of response. I was expecting, okay, so what do we do? But he's one of those people that is very cool, calm, and collected, very put together, and he likes to make sure that things are done in such a way that I am able to manage my own emotions and I'm able to remain sane. So he adjusted so well, and it was at a point where even when he was coming to my mom's house, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a nap, so I'll leave you guys together, and then you can
spend time with his daughter.
It's such a beautiful thing to experience your partner bonding with your child like that, where you're comfortable, you're not scared of like, okay, no, this is my baby. I don't need you. It's fine. I can handle it by myself. And it's nice to have somebody that's as supportive, that he understands that we made this child together and we are raising this child together. And so therefore you have to be as present as I am. So it's been, for him, and I think for myself as well, it's been quite an insightful experience. Just kind of seeing him growing into being a dad again, especially to a newborn. It was like, whoa, I did not expect
It's
this.
interesting what you say, because there's always the thing, one of these rules again, or whatever it is, perceptions, that a child is a mother's child.
Yes.
And hearing you sing his praises of him being involved in, you know, his child's life is exactly that. Because we were raised to believe that men generally run away.
Yes.
You know, they're not present. Or even if they were, you know, I've heard of stories where people say they grew up in houses where they didn't have a relationship with their father because their father is at work,
So
come in and he reads the newspaper and that's that.
Yeah.
So we need to get to a point where a present father is seen as the norm. It's not something that's like, wow.
Like a shock.
Like, oh my gosh, well done. Hey, you know, let's throw you a party. But I like the fact that he took up his responsibility as he should, you know. What I want to know is how has the introduction of a baby affected your
Our relationship?
Because I know that, I mean, I have 2 kids. I kind of get I know what that feels like. This introduction of a person, it changes the dynamics.
Yes.
It changes your quality time.
There's no quality time. Quality time, there's a third person now with quality
can
time.
even change, you know, when you have sex together.
Yes.
Or, you understand? So what has that done to you?
So, literally, she's always there.
Yeah.
There's no time out, there's no break. You can't just say, Mommy, I'm dropping off. No. And I think that's another thing also. Is my mom told me that if you get pregnant and you have a child, that's your child. Nah, I'm not raising this child for you. You must raise your own child.
Yeah.
So she was very adamant on that. So automatically when I got pregnant, I knew that. The relationship...
So you kind of planned that thing. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're right in saying that the way we've been raised and the norm in this country, I mean, I think it's 60% of households are single mother-headed households because the dads just dip.
Yeah.
And even holding them accountable, so even with maintenance court, it's a nightmare. Like I've seen so many stories of women saying that the process is so mentally and emotionally draining that eventually they just let it go.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, one of the best things that has happened with the introduction of our baby is that I feel a lot more safe.
Okay.
Mentally and emotionally, I feel a lot safer. I think he has been so present that I'm okay with saying, baby, I need like an hour just to myself because I'm feeling very under pressure.
Yeah.
He's also created that environment that when I feel like Kim and I need some time, he'll be like, okay, well, let's let her take a nap and then you and I can spend some time together.
Yeah.
So I think our relationship has actually grown quite significantly. I think even the way that I did things before versus doing the way I do things now is more of like, okay, well, we've got a child. How do we now incorporate and find that balance?
Yes.
So we do everything together, and especially being stuck at home in COVID, it's the 3 of us driving each other crazy.
Exactly.
But I think even with like when you mentioned the sex, I think for us, I feel like the sex has gotten a lot more intense. And when I say intense, I feel like we're more equally yoked.
Yeah.
Like we're more aligned
more
now.
connected.
Yes, than we were before. And that's a level of intimacy I don't think I've ever experienced before, where you feel like you are so secure in who you are and your partner that you're not concerned about anything
You're not
else.
concerned about body,
do I look good?
Look pretty?
Am I
the right body size? Like no.
And I think it's one of the things that he's managed to do that I didn't realize I had not experienced it on this level was affirmations. So he would affirm me because I would always say to him, I mean, I was petite my whole life. I was tiny my entire life. So when I started gaining weight from the pregnancy, I was feeling quite down, like, oh my gosh, my pants don't fit. Maybe my t-shirt doesn't fit anymore, things like that. And then even afterwards, I gained quite a significant amount of weight. I was crying about the fact that I'm no longer a 50 kg person. I am now 67 kgs.
You're no longer sexy.
I'm no longer sexy. In my head, I'm no longer sexy. So it did such a mental trick on me, and that obviously affects my emotions because now I don't want to be, naked in front of him. I don't want him to see me, But he does this thing where he affirms me every day. So even if my hair is a mess,
to him it's
baby, you look so beautiful today, and I'm just like, are you okay? Like, are you feeling fine? Because that's
not how you feel.
Yes. It's like, are we seeing the same thing? What's happening? So it's been, I honestly feel like I married an incredible man, and I I appreciate the man that he is, because even in me feeling the way that I do and feeling as insecure as I've been, he has been very present in making sure that I remember that I'm important to him. And even in us having a child, I still feel like I'm still a priority. So I don't feel like he's forgotten that I exist or that the child has replaced me. I think one of the things we do argue about is who's the favorite parent, because she's definitely daddy's little girl.
There's nothing you can do there. So, absolutely. You are the functional person. When the child needs that's where they go. But she probably has more fun with dad.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, talk to me about most of the women get postnatal depression.
Yes.
And that's not something that I think in our society we understood. You know, I've seen before, you know, women that have given birth and they actually feel like they don't want this child. You know, and when we are quite harsh in judging these women, because like, what the hell? You know, you were pregnant for 9 months, you knew you wanted, then now
you've been bonding with this child inside you,
you know. So talk to me about that. Did you experience that at all?
So I've dealt with depression over 15 years. So probably since high school, since the age of around 16.
Yeah.
So I've struggled with depression quite drastically to the point where I've been admitted now twice. The adjustment of the baby coming into the picture in that first couple of weeks, and the reason why I mentioned support is because if it was not for that support system, I think I would have had to deal with postnatal.
With that. Okay.
Yes. There was a point where I felt so overwhelmed that I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. She's crying. She's been crying for 30 minutes. I don't know what to do. I've done everything, changed diapers. I've fed her, you know. I've played with her. Nothing is working. What is going on? I think because I've been dealing with depression for so long, I'm able to recognize when I'm not in a good space and when I need help and when I need support. I think also the way in which we're raised and the culture and how we're raised creates a space where there's a lot of judgment for new moms. And the lack of support, which is support, but it doesn't feel like support at the time, kind of affects your perception of everything that's going on. And when you react in such a way that I'm not attached to my child, everybody kind of takes it as like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
like
there's something
there's something clearly wrong with you. This child is a blessing, you know, and at that point in time, you may not necessarily feel like that. I think we do need to create a situation where we're a lot more open about postnatal depression. I mean, I had a woman that posted a tweet that said that she was struggling with postnatal depression to the point where she didn't feel connected to a child for the 6 months, the first 6 months.
It happened, it's real.
She was just like, I didn't know what to do. I literally wanted to take this child and throw it out the window, and that was it. You know, and that's a very real emotion. And I don't think I understood it at the time of me seeing it. Now I'm a mom, I'm a new mom. I get it. I get how that overwhelming feeling. I understand that, you know, sometimes you feel like you've got it together and then you have one of those days where you're just like, actually not. And it may hit you. And because you're so caught up in taking care of this precious cargo that you've now brought into the world, you neglect yourself. So you neglect the fact that you have to take care of your own internal emotions and that you have to make sure that you're in a good mental place in order for you to
mom.
Yes. And I think that was one of the things that I was very lucky to have the support system that I do, is because they would say to me, have you taken a time out today? Have you you know, looked and done something? Just do something just for you. You know, even if it's go and get your nails done or just read a book, you know, do something.
Watch your favorite
or watch a movie, something. Just do something that's for you. That doesn't entail you having your child here all the time.
Because you are not a mother.
Yes.
You know, you are your own person.
You're still your own person, but now you've added the element of being your own person and adding a child to it. So that child is a part of you. And I think it's been such a drastic change. And I think now, because I've had the support over the years of how to manage my depression, that I'm at a point where I'm able to recognize what's good for me and what isn't good for me, and how to handle it when I feel like, okay, now I'm at a point where I'm not okay. So one of the things that I still do is I'll say to my therapist, like, I need to book an appointment. It's urgent. Can I please come and see you? And I think that's a lot of people get to a point where they're managing their depression and they forget that they still need that support.
Yeah.
So
well, those that have access
to it,
therapy.
that's true.
Yeah.
And I think I'm lucky and I'm privileged in the aspect that I can still say, you know, I can afford to go to therapy even after giving birth, because there are people that can't afford that at all.
Absolutely.
So I've been very lucky in that front where I've had support system from friends, family, and as well now also medical. I think also even my gynae.
Wow.
My gynae has been very supportive. He was supportive throughout the whole pregnancy, once the baby arrived. Even now, like, I get calls from, no, the gynae just wants to check, are you guys okay? Is everything's baby fine? So it's been kind of a very supportive thing. And even with her pediatrician will like sit and say, okay, did you need advice on anything? Like, I was struggling with getting her onto solids.
Yeah.
We sat down for 30 minutes. He literally drew up an entire table of introduced this at this time, tried this, you know. So I've had a lot of support.
You had a lot of support.
But I also recognize that I'm very privileged in the fact that I can afford that support.
Absolutely. I think that's the piece I also want to highlight, because there's many people that are not in your position and who are also new moms, who are also experiencing exactly what you're experiencing around the overwhelm, the depression, and require support. But the one thing I want to tap into is what are the sort of things that you wish you knew before you had a child?
I wish I knew how bad your feet swell and how uncomfortable it is. I wish I knew that your teeth will fall out or that your hair is gonna fall out, you know? These are, you know what, I asked the question before and I said to him, what was the thing that you guys, the same question you've just asked me, I've asked it before. And I was like, what was the thing that caught you off guard about pregnancy? You know? And everyone was like, your teeth fall. And I was like, what? No, you guys can't. And at that point, I hadn't told anybody. I think I was around 3.5 months at that point in time. So when I caught that, I was just like, I don't know if I can do this, you know? But I think pregnancy on its own is a lot. It is physically, mentally, and emotionally draining. You literally have to make sure that every day you're finding ways to support yourself internally as well. From a motherhood perspective, I think talking. Because I learned I'm very good at talking, but I wasn't very good at talking about when I'm overwhelmed. So I've had to learn how to communicate that, listen, I need help. I need advice. And I think that's a lot of things that a lot of moms don't necessarily know how to do. I get random DMs on days from moms saying, listen, I need advice. I don't know what to do. And I'll be like, I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'm going to tell you what I've done and what has worked for me. And then the rest is for you to decide how you're going to handle it. I mean, I had a mom that sent me a DM out of the blue. And she's like, listen, my child's hair is dry. What can you recommend? And I think on social also, and I think that's an important aspect of what has helped me, is on social, there's so many moms willing to share tips. And I think we're so scared to ask because we're supposed to, you know, the switch like that. And that's not what happens. So I think that's been one of the best things, was learning to actually communicate that. Guys, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This child has got a rash and I don't know, should I worry? Should I not
worry? I've also
worry?
seen a lot of mom groups on Facebook. And like, they ask, my child's skin is dry, or my child's got eczema. I don't know how many times I've also commented to, you know, to use this, use that, because that's what I've been using with my kids. But I find that I'm quick in responding and advising, but I never had that when I had my kids. You know, I didn't know the groups. I didn't reach out to anyone, because I wanted everyone to think that I've got it under control, and that's like the most important thing. But it's not. It's not the most important thing, because if you don't have it under control, it's okay. But I do think that our society puts us also under pressure, though.
Just also, under control is literally dependent on you.
Exactly.
Other people base it as you are together, but in your head you are just a mess.
You know? But I also think that you are there's a huge pressure and expectation that you get on with it. You get on, you know, like, you know, when you hire someone that's competent, they hit the ground running. But this is not one of those where you hit the ground running. Everyone, when you're pregnant, you know, they so sweet, so cute, so nunus, and then there's a whole baby shower, and at the baby shower, people that have kids, they advise you how wonderful this journey is, how amazing and great and whatnot. But I personally don't think it's the greatest thing in the beginning. So I want to hear you, like, if people, I wish at my baby shower people had told me, hey, we are new again, So please, I'm sure you've touched on it already. But yeah.
So it's so crazy because I think I had done so much mental preparation that by the time it got to the baby shower, I was already just like, yo guys, I'm tired. Like, I'm enough now. I was very good at saying when I'm having a bad day. I was very good at that. I did not enjoy the process of pregnancy at all. I didn't enjoy it at all. I liked the little flutter kicks and, seeing her face on, the sonars and seeing her grow. But the toll that it took on my body, where I could not walk at a point because my feet were so badly swollen. My feet went from a size 3 to a size 9 shoe. I was like, what on earth? I was buying shoes every other week, I did not enjoy that part of bringing this new life into, like, the world. I feel like had I known certain things at my baby shower, had the advice been a lot more honest, I think I would have been a lot more like, oh, okay, cool, But I don't think it's easy breezy like everybody kind of makes it seem. Pregnancy on its own is a lot. And then motherhood on its own is a lot. I got a lot of advice of, you know what, you've got this, you can handle it, it's not such a major adjustment, And I was just like,
oh, it's a major adjustment.
Huh? Right? And then the baby came, and then in the hospital there was just nurses, and you feed the baby like this, and you must hold her like this, and then you're just like, what is going on?
And if you don't mind me asking, did you go natural or did you go cesarean?
I had a C-section.
Okay.
She was due on the 22nd of January. My husband was adamant in me getting to the full 40 weeks. By week 38, I was hurtful. I was physically drained. I could not get myself out of bed to go to the bathroom without having to pause. And I mean, that's like, you're walking like 1.5 meters and you have to stop 10 times. I was physically exhausted. I could feel the pressure of me carrying a human being on my ankles.
So did you choose a cesarean?
So I chose a cesarean. My gynae had actually said to me, you're carrying really, really well, so there's no need for us to pressurize you and push you in for a C-section. Yeah. We can do natural. But I was enough. I was just like, listen, I don't think I can hold on for another week, 2 weeks. I need this baby here and I need her here now because my body is just not adjusting.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking, I mean, it's because, there's another rule out there by our wonderful society that says, and I've certainly had the comments towards me because I've got 2 kids and they're both C-sections, and the narrative is that if you haven't had natural birth, you're not a real mom.
Yes, like a real mom.
Yeah,
yes,
strong woman.
Yeah.
Because the natural birth is what really makes you a mom, and I think that's a lot of nonsense.
It's a lot of nonsense. It's a lot of nonsense.
But yeah, I'm asking this because does it make you feel any less of a woman because you had a C-section?
It actually doesn't. My child is here. She's healthy. She's happy. How can I feel less of a woman when I carried her for 9 months? I carried her for 9 months. We made sure she was healthy for 9 months, So I don't feel like I'm less of a woman. If anything, I feel like the fact that I have been able to, my body has been able to carry this child for 9 months and do so without me feeling like I want to, 6 months now, just like I'm big.
But are you aware of this
I'm aware of the myth. Look, I'm aware of the myth, and I always find it interesting because I'm just like, so what other ticks are there into defining a woman, And it's quite interesting because our society makes women feel so insecure about their capabilities and what they should and shouldn't do. Yeah. And I think you get to a point at like during your pregnancy where you're actually just like, I don't want to hear anything that anybody else has to say. Like you literally shut it down. I mean, I had only my colleagues knowing, family and friends, close friends knowing. I didn't announce my pregnancy until I was like in like 7-8 months already. So I was already like long due.
Was that due to some rule again that you don't tell?
It wasn't due to
the first child? Because I know. I was told you can't tell your friends when you're in your first trimester because something may still happen, or what's the story. But what's your belief on that?
So my gynae gave me the same advice. He said to me, don't say that you're pregnant until you're through your first trimester. But I'm the person that when something happens, I tell my sister, I tell my mom, I tell my brother. Yes. Like, they must all know what's going on. So if at any point something happens, they're aware. So I feel like on my part, it was a good decision because at around 8 weeks when I was carrying her, we almost lost her. So I almost had a miscarriage at 8 weeks. So I was in such a space that when it happened, I could actually say to my mom, listen, this is what's going on. I need you to come to the hospital. And because she had knowledge of the pregnancy, it wasn't such a shock, you know?
So you would not announce the pregnancy before the first trimester purely from a safety perspective.
Yes.
To say if anything happens, then you don't have to go back to those people and say, guys, I lost.
But also, you don't owe people an explanation. You know, I think
I'm just trying to get to the whole link.
Yes.
Because somehow they're linking it to culture and saying you don't tell.
Yes.
But it's not a culture thing.
It's not a culture thing. The doctors generally, my gynae warned me and said to me, the first trimester is the trickiest. It's literally touch and go because you don't know whether the baby is going to make it through that first trimester or not. So you have to give your body time to adjust. I personally waited until 7 or 8 months because I've had a lot of people talking and, wanting to know what's going on in my life. And my pregnancy was so precious to me that I didn't want just anybody saying anything, And because I was also
your business.
It's my business. And it was also a very personal decision because I needed to do the mental and emotional work myself to prepare for this baby.
Yeah, you needed to do your own work.
Yes, and I needed to do it so that by the time she got here, I was a healthy, happy mom as well. And I think the decision to wait so long was because of the fact that I just didn't want everybody else commenting on, oh my God, you're so big. Oh my God, you're so small. Oh my gosh, I didn't want that. I wanted my pregnancy to be my pregnancy and not our pregnancy. Yeah. And so I was very adamant with, and I was very selective of who I told about what was going on. Yeah. And I think I was very lucky because I had women in my life that have been pregnant that didn't bombard me with every day, oh my God, how are you feeling? Oh my God, send me a picture. Oh my God, I had a lot of support in that people were able to give me space to actually just be pregnant and to kind of go through that motion.
Cool. Interesting story. I certainly remember my days of being a new mom. But thank you so much, Lerato, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And sharing your story with us. It is a precious and a really tricky, this whole motherhood thing, because there's no manual for it. There's no master class that we can take, that says, okay, you want to be a mom, please come here, let's train you up. But you've taken it up. I love your honesty around that. It's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah.
It's very tough. There's more frustrations than good things in the beginning, but you get the hang of it. Your daughter's 6 months. She's grown. You guys, and your support that you have, and I think it's very important to have the support. Not necessarily a support of a husband. In your case, it is a husband. But if you don't have a husband, but the support of family, friends, because you certainly can't do this alone. This is
you definitely cannot.
Yeah, you can go write an exam alone because you studied it alone. But raising a child is something that's very different.
Completely different.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention on the podcast was that if you hashtag MomTribe on Twitter and you pose a question, you'll get a lot of responses and support.
Because people are there.
There's
a need for the support.
I think there's also another thing, like people think that support has to come from people that are directly close to you. It's not necessary. And maybe that's a question that you need to pose at some point is so guys, does support have to come from people that are close to you, or can it be from strangers as well?
Talk to now that you're 6 months and bundle of joy, you're getting the groove, the hang of it. Where is any plans on getting the second one?
When I'm 35 or in 4 years. I need to. Yeah, I think it's also just because I want to make sure that she's got my full attention before we introduce another child. I wanted to get to a point where she's developed her own personality.
Her own relationship. So she can accept a sibling. A sibling comes. Okay, well, that's fair. 4 years is a good gap. Age gap. So yeah, but more than that, probably not. So. You'd have to do
I
it
think
very
also,
soon.
also my gynae was like, listen, you can have your first child now, and then at 34, 35, you need to be done. And I'm like, no, because what if I want to have a child at 40? And he's like, are you trying to have a child at 40?
And it is possible.
It
guys.
is possible.
It is possible. So anyway, thank you so much, guys, for tuning into Hot Seats with Penzola. Thanks to Lerato for sharing a personal story with us. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook as well, and Instagram. Please remember to subscribe and comment and share your experience in this new mom topic. And great, it's been a real thing.